back to the Keeping the Dream Alive podcast. Today, I have a familiar face back on the podcast, Brad Walker, president of Torch Technologies. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of diving into 2024 and what 2024 looked like, as well as, looking ahead at 2025 is where it's right around the corner. So how was 2024 for Torch?
Well, we had a great year in 2024, and we had a really great year in 2023 that helped set us up for 2024 because we had wins that occurred in early and mid part of 2023. So you don't realize all the revenue associated with that in the year that you book it early or mid-year. So it flows in and gives you the tailwinds in 2024. So we experienced that. But we had an excellent year all around, very, very happy with it. And we continued strong growth.
Yeah, and I think building upon year after year, like you said, the timing of everything is important, and some of the things that maybe you were really working on in 2023 came to fruition in 2024, and probably things you're working on now are going to come to fruition in 2025. And so it's just kind of that constant snowball effect and growth that Torch has been able to see. Describe your goal setting process and some of the top goals for Torch in 2024, and how did you achieve them?
Yeah. So back in 2008, we brought in an outside person who helped us with setting up a goal setting process, a strategic planning process. And she walked us through that, and we've been using that since then. We modify it a bit. So we've been implementing that. So at the end of 2023, we do this planning late in the year, for the next year. And we typically look at a horizon of about 2 years. And so what we have done for 2024 was really sat down and came up with kind of 2 overarching goals. And then we flow out from those 2 goals. What we're trying to do when we're doing the goal setting process is make it so that these goals, they can flow down into what we call focus areas. And those focus areas get defined in such a way so that every employee in the company can relate their goals as part of their annual goal setting process. They can tie back to those focus areas that we've established. And so what we do is we define, and we had 6 focus areas that we had laid out, and we defined them, and then we went deeper and deeper with definitions, multiple levels of definition of those, so that they could tie to their goal setting. So that's part of the process of just expanding it throughout the entire organization. So they're pretty top level goals. I'll talk to them just for a moment. The first thing that we wanted to do was create stability. And you do that by maintaining and growing your existing work with your existing customer base. And there's a how to doing that, and you've got to perform well for them. You want to deliver outstanding performance and customer satisfaction. We consider that, is a key aspect of that. And then just by, helping them as they are growing with their organizations, with their funding lines, to be able to help them, achieve the objectives that they're after. So ultimately, at the end of the day, this is all about, satisfying our customers. The ultimate customer is the warfighter. And but along the way, we have direct customers that are here, Redstone Arsenal and other locations, and they may have a customer that's providing them funding. So it's making sure our direct customer is, achieving their objectives, and their customer is as well, ultimately at the benefit of the warfighter. So that's the stability piece. Of course, the second one now is looking at strengthening our resiliency, which is to say, you want to kind of diversify your customer base, and there's several reasons for doing that. You want to, you'll be a bit more stable. But what you want to do there is you can grow your overall capabilities, and then that can give you an even more expanded offering that you can give to your existing customers and benefit them as well. So it's really kind of it feeds off itself. So that's number 2. Number 3, as we continue to grow, we have to increase our competitiveness. So we're going after more bids, and we're having to deal with stiffer competition. So we're always looking at how we can improve our processes,
Mm,
our tools for business development, for proposal development, capturing efforts, tracking that. So it's really focused on those processes and those
mm,
tools. The fourth one is to enhance our operational efficiency. That's really looking at the back office side of it,
mm,
and scaling our infrastructure. So generally speaking, when we're growing, we grow on the contract side
mm,
first with support to the direct customer, and then we lag in um, building up that
mm,
infrastructure on like finance and accounting, human resources, so forth, so that you've got to get the amount of people, and you got to get the capabilities
mm,
stronger as you're doing that. Uh, so we're really focused on those kind of things. And so with the big growth year we had in 23, we had to really focus on those,
mm.
and get caught up
Yeah.
and scale that infrastructure back. The fifth thing that we have to really we focus out a lot is, we are a certified evergreen company, and our intent is to be an everlasting company. So this fifth one relates to that, and that is to create a sustainable future.
Mm,
And we do that by developing our management and our technical leaders. So continually doing that and targeting the type of training that we need to do, that they need either on the technical side and very much so on the leadership side, because we view succession planning and leadership development as intricately linked together.
mm,
And we really are looking to promote from within the company, something like an 80% to 20%
wow.
ratio in internal versus external. Part of that is because we are a employee owned company, and there's a special culture associated with that. And so it's different than it is at, say, a publicly traded company, for
Mm,
example, or other privately owned type of company structures. So understanding that culture, you want your leaders to be, putting forth the effort to understand that kind of culture, and then lead with that.
mm,
And so that's absolutely critical. Then the sixth aspect relates to, so in 2023 we became a public benefit corporation,
mm,
and the fourth commitment that we made on the public benefit corporation dealt with giving back to our local communities
mm,
where we have significant employee geographic locations. And so, what we've been doing as we've been growing in other geographic regions is that we want to institutionalize this employee centric culture, which is kind of the employee ownership piece
mm,
of it, and understanding what that means, as well as the community focus, where we are working with the community charities at,
mm,
at our different geographic locations, and kind of replicating the model of what we've done here in Huntsville. And so, putting an effort on that, and rolling that out as well. So those are kind of the six areas, what we call the focus areas,
mm,
and we subdivide those down into multiple sets of bullets that employees can tie to. So when they're setting their goals, we require them to set every goal needs to tie back to one of these six
wow.
focus areas. Okay, as they're doing that. So when they're working with their manager, so we have a column, an entry point on there when they're defining the goal. Which one does this tie to? So
Mm,
it gets them geared into thinking about that. So that really applies to all employees. But then there's another offshoot of this that we do, and these flow from our top two statement, our top two goal statements. Then, in parallel with that, we have a separate set of corporate team goals that we
mm,
develop, and those are really designed to be facilitators to the other side, where the key focus areas. So, and it can be infrastructure things. It can provide guidance. It can be making the investments that we need to make
mm,
in whatever it may be. Like if you're going to be scaling your infrastructure, looking at your business enterprise systems, for instance, making the type of investments that you need to do as you grow, so that you are implementing the systems that you need to take you out for the next 5 to 10 years. So we set aside a separate set of goals that are tied, to to that
Mm.
purpose, and the executive team focuses on those.
Yeah, and it's
Right.
it's it's incredible just to see how, every employee kind of knows their role in these goals and kind of what it's allowing the employees at large to row the boat all in the same direction. Because if you're trying to
Right.
achieve these 6 goals and you don't know the direction we're going and you don't know the best route to get there, it becomes a little troublesome. But if everyone's kind of going in that same direction and kind of know the overall arching goal and then know how it applies to them and the work that they're doing, I mean, it allows that culture element of Torch that's so important to be there and to be present and to be
Right.
noticed and to be seen. Looking at some of the training that Torch does, how does
Mhm.
Torch work with leadership development? You mentioned that a lot of the work, 80% is bringing people that are already within Torch to higher levels within Torch. How does Torch go about kind of that development process?
Yeah, so we do a combination of internal and external training, and we have several different external training service providers that we use that are excellent. And so and part of what that does is it helps with career progression, promulgation of our culture. Which is extremely important, to us, and it's really difficult for people who've just been hired into our company to really get it if they've not been a part of an
Mhm.
employee-owned company, or our kind of culture, to help them better understands what we're trying to do. And then sustainability as an evergreen company, so we're trying to theme all of this in as we go, with training. So some of it being internal, we have a whole series of leadership development that are taught by different people in the company that are highly
Mm.
experienced, and so that's part of it. With the external, we utilize the Crestcom Bulletproof Manager series. It's a series of training that is for new managers and managers that have been in that role for a while. It really helps them to focus on the day-to-day challenges that they're going to be faced with. And most of us, we're engineers, or we're STEM type
Yeah.
of employees that really aren't necessarily born with the skill to lead,
Mm.
and it can be acquired in with training. And so that's what we're trying to help them focus on. So the Crestcom series goes through 10 series of 2 different topics they hit. So it's a total of 20 topics, and they help learn the skills for dealing with challenging situations. So it can help you, you know, uh, with approaches,
Mm.
and most people can solve the technical aspects of it, and they're used to doing that. But dealing with people challenges, which most of it usually boils down to, and learning what to do and what not to do, and techniques for doing that, we proceed with that. There's another one that we utilize, the Eagle uh, Center for Leadership out of Decatur here, we use as well, and they have a slightly different approach to it, and they help us to understand our own personal awareness,
Mm.
and characterizing into 4 groups, 4 entities, and it helps you understand where do I fit, and how do I interact with others
Mm.
that are maybe a different type, and be aware and cognizant of that. So it's not only personal awareness, but then learning, how how your actions affect others, and then the interaction in between.
Mm.
So we also use them for coaching, so at all levels, and I get coaching from them as well. If you think about a football team, you have coaches for all the roles
Yeah.
on the team, right? And so that's what we use them for as well. That helps us significantly, and it's a way to help us think about stop, pause. You're always working to put fires out,
Mm.
but they can stop and really sit down and make you think, am I really thinking about broader, implications, the longer vision,
Mm.
instead of just always putting those fires out. And so that's very valuable for us. And then we bring in others as needed as well. But so we make a good bit of investments. Then we have other trainings that are related to specific technical
Mm.
things, and we'll be looking at enhancing that as we go.
Yeah, and so we've talked a lot about what 2024 looked like and the
Hmm.
growth and kind of that, great year for Torch moving into 2025.
Hmm.
What are some of the focal areas for 2025
Hmm.
as it is quickly approaching?
Yeah. So since we were just talking about training, I'll go on that one for a minute. One of the things that we're going to be taking a look at is working with our external training providers to now that we have defined the new core values, and then as we finalize our, what we're looking at for our goals for 2025, we want to start to tie in training specifically geared to those topics.
Mm.
So we've not quite done this before per se. So it'll be immersing them a bit in that,
Mm.
to help identify how we can tailor some of that training. So it'll help us with the promulgation and understanding, of our new core
Mm.
values, and then the execution of the goals and some of the behaviors associated with that, and then some of the core skill sets. That's where we want to take it. So this will probably take multi years to get to where we really want it to be, but that's just looking at taking the training to a different level by focusing and targeting it
Mm.
relative to those kind of things. Um, so we've done quite a few things. I mentioned we did infrastructure improvements during 2024. So we had created several new corporate positions as we are growing that we needed to do. We hired a CIO
Mm.
in 2024. That CIO has come in now and has spent time assessing our entire business enterprise system
Wow.
framework across the company, and it's more complex than you might can imagine. So he's been assessing that, and then building kind of a roadmap and strategic plan that now has been briefed to the board and it's been approved, so that we can move out on that. So 2025 will be a year of starting to execute
Wow.
on that strategic plan for that. So there's a variety of aspects that come in with that. We will be implementing a new HRIS system in 2025. We will be targeting to achieve CMMC Level 2, which is a fairly new cyber
Mm.
related requirement that looks like it's been finalized, that we'll be implementing early in 2025. I mentioned earlier our tracking of our business development. We have what we call pipeline tool. We'll be maturing that significantly, and we're working with a vendor to incorporate some capabilities that we want, into their tool.
Mm.
So we're getting that worked out. So a lot of this is going to be getting those finalized and then implemented throughout the year. All at the same time, you have to do that very carefully while because you've got to execute your mission
Mm.
under your existing systems, and you're rolling in, the new ones. And so that takes quite a bit of being careful and then resources to do that very carefully. Similarly, we hired a director of communications in 2024. And so we asked her to go in and take a look at, how we're communicating and what kind of enhancements we need to look. So she has put together, a communications roadmap that
Mm.
we'll be implementing. So part of that is um, trying to be more intentional
Mm.
about communicating. Like, it's one thing to be just kind of putting things out there, but what is your strategy? What things do you want to hit on and focus on messaging? If it's like the new core values, or the ESOP is something that we're always having to
Mm.
hit on, especially when you are, bringing on new employees who don't understand that. So that's some repetition in there. Um, we're branding is something that we look at in terms of is there changes or how we roll that with the new core values like we're bringing out. We'll be looking at things like internal structures like our intranet, where our employees come in
Mm.
behind a firewall to get information that they need to do the things they want to do, as well as our corporate website for
Mm.
external access. Um, and so there's a lot of focus on those things. So a lot of these things are going to be happening throughout 2025, and they'll continue into 2026 as well.
Yeah, and it sounds like a lot of the stuff is stuff with that infrastructure, stuff with the
Mhm.
framework that is already in place, just enhancing that framework, having more not guardrails, but just more understanding of like what do we need to enhance this so that as future growth in 2026 and 2027 happens, you
Mhm.
have an infrastructure in place that can support that.
That's exactly right.
And
Yeah.
it's incredible to just think through, what 2024 was for Torch, and then I think conversations like this allows public to kind of see, hey, here's what's going on, and here's what's happening. We'll have to have you back on at the end of 2024 to talk about, or 2025 to talk about 2026, because I think everything's always changing. It's very volatile, and so seeing what changes have been made and seeing how some of these goals for 2025 play out. But I appreciate you being here today.
All right, great. Thank you for having me.